Well, hello. Here we are with another interview. And today we're going to kind of switch gears a little bit. I wanted to find someone that's lived in the valley for a long time. What the valley looked like back, well, he's going to tell you how many years ago. And just to get a little peek at the past, bringing us up to the future. So today I want to welcome Farrell Edwards. And Farrell, I'm going to let you start out and tell us a little bit about your growing up years here and what the valley looked like and what were the people like? What was going on here back then?
In my early years, I recall up to about 80 years ago, it was considered a very small town. I lived on 2nd East, just below the Logan Temple. And the street was only partially paved. We used to play marbles on the side of the street on 2nd North. The Iceman would drive his vehicle along the street to fill ice boxes for refrigeration. And he was kind enough when he came by our house to give us a little sliver of ice to suck on.
That's something
So,
we don't see today, is it?
see that. My father owned Edwards Furniture in Logan. His phone number was 4. He had the 4th phone in Logan, Utah.
Okay.
Uh, my friend Ronald Hanson, his father was the cashier at the First National Bank. And he and I had an interesting experience there. Oh, the city was shut down on Sunday. There was a Sunday closing law at the time, but not everybody shut down. Skanky's Market was open on Sunday. It was considered illegal and not very good.
Did
So,
people patronize them on Sundays? Did people go there on Sundays? They must have.
oh, well, I should say so.
I want to step back here a second. You said you and your friend had an interesting experience at the bank. Is that something that you want to share or would be of interest?
I've got to think about that.
Uh-oh. Okay. You didn't rob the bank, did you?
Yes.
I think that would be pretty interesting. Or if you tell the story, might the law come after you?
After all these, actually, we were caught. We were 9 years old
Oh,
when we robbed the First National Bank.
oh, tell us that story. Come on.
My friend, I better not use his name very many times. It was a Saturday, and he said, "Oh, let's go to town." Okay, we'll walk downtown. And he said, "Let's go to a movie." And I said, "Well, I don't have any money." He said, "Well, I know where there's some money at the bank." Yeah, but it's Saturday, and I knew enough to know that the bank was closed on Saturday. He said, "Yes, but I know a secret tap on the door of the bank and they'll let us in." Now, mind you, we're just 9-year-old kids. The bank was on First North, and he picked up a little rock, walked up to the glass door, and gave this secret tap. Well, it happened that the bank auditors were there that day. So there were many people inside the bank working on auditing the records. The bank employee heard the tap, came to the door, looked down, there's these two little kids, opened the door and let us in. We walked back into the bank vault, and he said, I think that drawer right there has some money. Pulled open the drawer, it was full of 50-cent pieces. He said, take a handful. And I said, oh, I don't know whether or not we should. Should we do that? And he said, sure, they've got plenty. So we each dipped in with our hands, took out a handful of 50-cent pieces, and oh, did we have fun. We went to the drugstore on Center Street and Main. We bought candy. We went across the street to the Roxy, watched a movie, had a great time. Went home. My father was waiting for me. The auditors discovered the discrepancy. And my father owed I think it was $2.50. And my friend's father had to pay a like amount to square the account at the bank. So yes, we robbed the First National Bank.
Well, before we do these interviews, I always do a meet and greet and kind of get an idea of the questions we're going to ask. And then sometimes we get off track. And this is a time we got off track, but I think this was a fun story to share. So thank you, Farrell.
Oh dear.
So you did leave Cache Valley for a little while to go to school.
It was in Salt Lake that I went to the University of Utah. I studied physics and math at the University of Utah and graduated there. And then applied for graduate school, was accepted at several graduate schools and ended up going to California Institute of Technology, where I did my doctorate. Then a friend of mine said, as I was looking for jobs, and I had some offers, various places, he said, there's an opening in the physics department at USU. I thought, boy, oh boy. And I talked to my wife, and we thought, what a great place to raise a family. So we packed up, moved to Logan, and have been here ever since.
So your employment at USU really hasn't ended yet, has it?
My employment has, but my work at USU has not.
Okay.
I am not teaching anymore. I retired from teaching about 7 or 8 years ago. But I have a laboratory, I have an office, and I'm doing research. I borrowed a tokamak from the University of Saskatchewan. And in the tokamak, we modified it to investigate the possibility of containing hot plasma or ionized gas. And the ultimate goal is to use that for thermonuclear fusion. The tokamak is being built in France for a cost of $20 billion by a consortium of nations. Will give more energy out than it takes to do this job. Well, I had discovered a new theory of plasma containment and published in what we often term as the best journal in the world. And now we're attempting to see whether or not my new theory will work in practice. So that's what we're attempting in my laboratory.
So, Farrell, you haven't told us yet how old you are.
You haven't asked me how old I am.
Well, I thought it would come up in conversation, but since it hasn't, how old are you?
I'm pushing 90. I'm 89.
Well, and you're working on this big project, this theory on physics.
Yes.
And I'm thinking when I turn 90, hopefully if I get that far, I'll hope that I can at least work crossword puzzles or something. So
I go to the lab every day,
that's amazing and good for you.
and my only concern, my body works well. My only concern is, will my mind work well for just a few more years?
At least till you can prove your theory, huh?
That's exactly the point.
And that's what's going to keep your mind going.
Oh, that's maybe true. Thank you, Carol.
Yeah. So, your family, how many children have you and your wife Anne raised?
We have 10 children. That has been, well, that is certainly an anomaly. 5 boys, 5 girls, and Anne is a most remarkable mother and person.
And
Uh,
wife.
oh, terrific wife. Yes.
Don't forget that part.
No, I don't. I don't. No, I
I know
don't.
you don't. I know. Yeah. So how many years have you been married?
Oh dear, I'll have to ask her. 60 something,
Long time.
long time.
And what is your secret to being able to be married for that long a period of time?
My growing up was not in a typical, pleasant, gentle family. It was in a rancorous family. And I figured, I don't know how to live well in a marriage because I didn't have an example to teach me. So, Carol, I said to myself, I'm going to look for a wife. And this was at the University of Utah where I met her. And, but the trouble is, a kid who grows up in a family of that type, it wasn't awful, but it wasn't an example. How can I know whether or not the girls that I am dating would turn out to be a good wife or a good mother? And so this part, being a scientist, I decided I would take a scientific approach. So I made up 2 lists, 60 something items on each list. The one was a list of qualities that I'm looking for in a wife. Is she pleasant looking? Is she nice? Does she dress well? Is she religious? Is she musical? That was important to me, as you know. And so I got 60 something items. My other list was, what have I done with the girls I've been dating? Gone on a hike, gone to a movie, gone to a dance. Why worry about that? Because how can you judge unless you've seen the other person in many different circumstances? If someone goes only to dances, about all they'll know about the girl they're dating is, does she dance well? I got over 60 things that we had done together on dates. Then, of course, by this time, I was crazy about this Anne Parrish. And I was just hoping that she would come out on top on the qualities. And she eked out the second place date. And we had done enough things that I was pretty confident it was pretty good.
Is
But
Anne
that,
is Anne nearby right now?
oh, she's in the other room. No.
Well, why don't
Well,
you
do you want me to ask her if that's true?
tell her I want to see her? Tell her to come in here.
Hi,
Hi,
Carol.
Anne. It's so nice to have you be a part of this. Farrell said you had to go through quite a list before you qualified for to be his wife.
I know I almost didn't make it.
I want to know, did he almost not make it?
I didn't make a list.
And it still worked out okay for you.
It worked out just great.
Yeah. Well, and also he wasn't quite sure how many years you've been married.
What? We've been married 66 years.
66 years. Does he ever forget the anniversary?
Well, sometimes I have to remind him. So I'm not sure if he would remember because I start reminding him early.
And that's what keeps you going to the next year, right? Uh, well, this has been a pleasure. And if I can switch this back over to Farrell, I'm going to have him wrap this up for us. But thank you, Anne. I
Nice
appreciate
to
it.
talk to Carol.
And if there's anything, any kind of message you'd like to give to the community, as far as how can we be better neighbors? How can we be connected better? What would your advice be for that?
Examine for yourself where you stand on various things, religion, education, raising children. Examine it with as much honesty as you can acquire or that you do possess. And then be good. Be good to people. My earlier at the university, my team, which was working down in this lab, but this team no longer. I now have a new team. I have a team of 4 people working in my lab right now. The earlier, I had a LDS, that was me, a Catholic, that was Eric, and a Muslim, that was Ajay. We worked great together, and we used to laugh about our diversity in belief. But one should respect deeply the other person's feelings and point of view. That would be my advice. Respect others.
Well, Farrell, that's good advice. This has been a fun interview and an interesting one. I wish you the best on your theory that you're working on, and I hope that it meets all your expectations.
Well,
And
if it does, your life is going to change. Just in closing, say, if you have a chance to hear the 4 hymns, listen to them. If you have a chance to hear Wildflower, that's one of my daughter's groups singing, listen to them. It's beautiful. Being with you and with Cache Valley Connections.
thank you.